At that time, Herod the Tetrarch heard about the fame of Jesus. And he said to his servants, "This is John the Baptist. He has been raised from the dead. That is why these powers are at work in him." For Herod had seized John and bound him and put him in prison for the sake of Herodias, his brother Philip's wife. Because John said to him, "It is not lawful for you to have her." And though he wanted to put him to death, he feared the people because they held him to be a prophet. But when Herod's birthday came, the daughter of Herodias danced before the company and pleased Herod, so that he promised with an oath to give her whatever she might ask. Prompted by her mother, she said, "Give me the head of John the Baptist on a platter." And the king was sorry. But because of his oaths and his guests, he commanded it to be given. He sent and had John beheaded in prison, and his head was brought on a platter and given to the girl, and she brought it to her mother. And his disciples came and took the body and buried it, and they went and told Jesus. Now, when Jesus heard this, he withdrew from there in a boat to a lonely place apart. But when the crowds heard it, they followed him on foot from the towns. As he went ashore, he saw a great throng, and he had compassion on them and healed their sick. When it was evening, the disciples came to him and said, "This is a lonely place, and the day is now over. Send the crowds away to go into the villages and buy food for themselves." Jesus said, "They need not go away. You give them something to eat." They said to him, "We have only 5 loaves here and 2 fish." And he said, "Bring them here to me." Then he ordered the crowds to sit down on the grass, and taking the 5 loaves and the 2 fish, he looked up to heaven and blessed and broke and gave the loaves to the disciples, and the disciples gave them to the crowds. And they all ate and were satisfied, and they took up 12 baskets full of the broken pieces left over. And those who ate were about 5,000 men, besides women and children. The Gospel of Christ. Praise to you, Lord Jesus Christ.
Through each perplexing path of life, our wandering footsteps guide, give us each day our daily bread, and raiment fit provide. Oh, spread thy covering wings around, till all our wandering cease, and in the city of our God, our souls arrive in peace.
Please be seated. Change is difficult, isn't it? I am at a point in my life, our family is at a point in time where change is the overriding reality. Really annoying at times. There's so many things. We're actually moving. We have possession of a house on August 17th. But this whole process of hunting for a house, shopping for a house, and buying, and the whole realtor thing, oh my goodness, it's so frustrating. And the thought for me of moving back to the city, I haven't lived in the city for at least 20 years, I don't really want to move. I don't really want things to change. I like our house. I put a lot of work into that house. But God seems to have a different idea. In fact, my wife is already in the city. She's been working in the city since May 29th. So we're almost like a separation. And she comes home when she has a day off from work. She's an addictions counselor. She's working over at Alberta Hospital in a youth recovery program, residential recovery program. So she comes home exhausted. The hour-and-a-half drive from Edmonton to our house in Barrhead is not easy for her either, right? It just makes her more tired. My 17-year-old son, who goes through constant changes because he's 17, is also working in the city. He works full-time at a store called The Bandstand, a music store, which is great for him because he wants to be a musician. He is a musician and is going to MacEwan University in September. Again, more change in a Bachelor of Music program. So just constant change. I have a 14-year-old daughter that almost embodies change. I mean, because she's 14. And the future is just inexorably rolling along a big ball of change. And my goodness, I have an older boy who's 33, and he's a pipe fitter. But he had a stroke last year. And the whole process of supporting him through his health recovery has been exhausting, actually. It's been very challenging. And he's only just this week been cleared to go back to work. So that's very exciting. But again, it's all about change. I was glad when I saw what our gospel reading was today, the feeding of the 5,000. This story, I've never actually looked at it that way before, but it's all about change. People affected by change. There's a societal change. You have this comparison right in front of us between the party given by the